everybody. We're going to read Amelia Bedelia. This is Amelia Bedelia. She gets a little bit of trouble because she takes everything literally. Literally means that you do exactly what it says, and you're not thinking about maybe what the general idea is. You'll find out as we read along. So this is called Amelia Bedelia. Oh, Amelia Bedelia, your first day of work, and I can't be here, but I made a list for you. You do just what the list says Mrs. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers got in the car with Mr. Rogers, and they drove away. So they're leaving, and here's Amelia. She's starting to work in their house. My, what nice folks. I'm going to like working here, said Amelia Bedelia. And here's the list. Amelia Bedelia went inside. Such a grand house. These must be rich folks. Folks is another word for people. Here I stand just looking, and me with a whole list of things I need to do, said Amelia Bedelia. Stood there for a minute longer. I think I'll make a surprise for them. I'll make a lemon meringue pie. I do make good pie, she said. So Amelia Bedelia went into the kitchen. She put a little of this and a pinch of that into a bowl, and she mixed and she rolled. Soon her pie was ready to go into the oven. There, said Amelia Bedelia. That's done. Now let's see what this list says. Amelia Bedelia read, change the towels in the green room, in the green bathroom. Change the towels. What do you think they meant? I think that they were dirty and she needed to put them in the laundry and put fresh towels out. But let's see what Amelia does. Amelia Bedelia found the green bathroom. These towels are very nice. Why change them? She said. Then Amelia Bedelia remembered what Mrs. Rogers said. She must do just what was on the list. Well, all right, said Amelia Bedelia. And Amelia Bedelia got some scissors. She snipped a little here and a little there, and she changed those towels. Cut the towels up, but she did change them. There, said Amelia Bedelia. And she looked at her list again. Dust the furniture. Did you ever hear tell of such a silly thing? At my house, we undust the furniture, but to each his own way. So Amelia Bedelia took one last look at the bathroom. She saw a big box with the words dusting powder on it. So instead of taking the dust off of the furniture, it says dust the furniture. Well, look at that, a special powder to dust with, exclaimed Amelia Bedelia. So Amelia Bedelia dusted the furniture. That should be dusty enough. How nice it smells. It was powder for people's bodies that makes them smell nice. Draw the drapes when the sun comes in. Draw the drapes. When we draw with a pencil, right? What do you think she's going to do? Read Amelia Bedelia. She looked up. The sun was coming in. So Amelia Bedelia looked at the list again. Draw the drapes. That's what it says. I'm not much of a hand at drawing, but I'll try. So Amelia Bedelia sat right down and she drew those drapes. She drew them on paper instead of closing them. Amelia Bedelia marked off the drapes. Now what? Put the lights out when you finish in the living room. Amelia Bedelia thought for a minute. She switched off the lights. Then she carefully unscrewed each bulb. So it says to put the lights out, not turn them off. And Amelia Bedelia put the lights out. She put them outside on the clothesline where she dries clothes and put them out. So those things need to be aired out too, just like pillows and babies. Oh, I did learn a lot. My pie, she exclaimed, Amelia Bedelia. She hurried to the kitchen. Just right, she said. She took the pie out of the oven and put it on the table to cool. Then she looked at the list. Measure 2 cups of rice. That's next, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia found 2 cups and she filled them with rice. And Amelia Bedelia measured the rice. She's measuring with a ruler, with actually a tape measure. Amelia Bedelia laughed. These folks do want me to do funny things. And then she poured the rice back in the container. The meat market will deliver a steak and a chicken. Please trim the fat before you put the steak in the ice box. And please dress the chicken. When the meat arrived, Amelia Bedelia opened the bag. She looked at the steak for a long time. Yes, she said, that will do nicely. Sometimes I have trouble turning this page. Amelia Bedelia got some lace and bits of ribbon, and Amelia Bedelia trimmed the fat before she put the steak in the ice box. What do you think she's going to do? What do you think trimming the fat means? Now I must dress the chicken. I wonder if she wants a he or a she chicken. And said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia went right to work. Soon the chicken was finished. Amelia Bedelia heard the door open. The folks are back, she said, and she rushed out to meet them. What do you think they're going to think of all the things she did today? Amelia Bedelia, why are all the light bulbs outside? Asked Mr. Rogers. The list just said to put the lights out, said Amelia Bedelia. I didn't say to bring them back in. Oh, I do hope they didn't get aired out too long. Amelia Bedelia, the sun will fade the furniture. I asked you to draw the drapes, said Mrs. Rogers. I did. See, said Amelia Bedelia, and she held up the picture. She drew the drapes. Then Mrs. Rogers saw the furniture. The furniture, she cried. Did I dust it well enough? Asked Amelia Bedelia. That's such nice dusting powder. Mr. Rogers went to wash his hands. I say, he called, these are very unusual towels. Mrs. Rogers dashed into the bathroom. Oh, my best towels, she said. Didn't I change them enough? Asked Amelia Bedelia. Mrs. Rogers went into the kitchen. I'll cook dinner. Where's the rice I asked you to measure? I put it back in the container, but I remember it measured 4.5 inches, said Amelia Bedelia. Was the meat delivered? Asked Mr. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers. Yes, said Amelia Bedelia. I trimmed the fat just like you said. It does look very nice. Mrs. Rogers rushed into the ice box. She opened it. Lace? Ribbons? Oh, dear, said Mrs. Rogers. See, like you trim a tree, you make it pretty, or you trim a gift. Some people say that when they're making it fancy. She thought they wanted her to make the steak fancy. Isn't that silly? She took them literally. She did exactly what they said. The chicken! You dressed the chicken? Asked Mrs. Rogers. Yes, I found the nicest box I could put him in. said Amelia Bedelia. Box? Exclaimed Mrs. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers hurried over to the box, and she lifted the lid, and there lay the chicken, and he was just as dressed as he could be. You see his little box? Mrs. Rogers was angry. She was very angry. She opened her mouth. Mrs. Rogers meant to tell Amelia Bedelia she was fired. But before she could get the words out, Mr. Rogers put something in her mouth. It was good. Mrs. Rogers forgot about being angry. What do you think he put in her mouth? The pie. The pie was so good she forgot she was mad. Lemon meringue pie, she exclaimed. I made it as a surprise to you, said Amelia Bedelia happily. So right then and there, Mr. and Mrs. Rogers decided that Amelia Bedelia must stay. And so she did. Mrs. Rogers learned to say, undust the furniture, unlight the light, close the drapes, and things like that. Mr. Rogers didn't care if Amelia Bedelia trimmed all the steaks with lace. He must have really liked the pie. All he cared about was having her there to make lemon meringue pie. Isn't that a funny book? It's so funny. It's about being careful with the words that you say sometimes to people, because sometimes we do things that literally are silly. Like it's not raining cats and dogs. People say that when it rains a lot. There aren't real cats and dogs coming from the sky. So sometimes we take words and we make them into something new. Amelia Bedelia didn't understand that, and that's why it's funny. I hope you had a great time listening to the story. I had a great time reading to you. Bye-bye.